In relationships, women often create subtle tests to gauge a man's emotional maturity, commitment, and overall character. These tests aren't always malicious or manipulative, but rather a way to assess whether the connection is genuine or whether it's driven by temporary impulses or insecurities. After a period of no contact, these tests can become more apparent as emotions and past actions resurface. The absence of communication allows both individuals the space to reflect and evaluate what they truly want moving forward. But when contact resumes, many women instinctively want to understand if the man has grown, changed, or learned anything during that time apart. The test can take on many different forms. Sometimes it's a small gesture, like reaching out unexpectedly, or trying to engage in a lighthearted conversation to see if the man is still invested. Other times, the test might be more direct or emotional, an attempt to rekindle old arguments or stir up unresolved feelings. The key to understanding these tests is realizing that they aren't necessarily a sign of doubt about the relationship itself, but a reflection of the woman's desire to see if the man has matured or is truly capable of handling the relationship in a healthy way moving forward. However, it's important to note that these tests are not always about manipulating or creating conflict. They are often driven by deep-rooted concerns about how the relationship will evolve. Many women, after a period of no contact, are unsure of where they stand emotionally and may test the waters to see if the emotional connection is still there. If the relationship was built on unstable foundations, the test could be a way to discover if the man has done the necessary inner work to create a stronger connection moving forward. Understanding this dynamic is key, especially after no contact. After some time apart, emotions settle, and people start to see things from a different perspective. It's not about whether or not you've changed, but rather about whether or not you're able to approach the relationship with a new mindset. It's crucial to recognize that these tests aren't designed to trap or trick you. They're a method of evaluating how well both of you can navigate the complexities of being in a relationship. It's about understanding that she's testing to see if you are still reactive, still emotionally immature, or if you've taken the time to reflect on the past and are ready for something more stable and mature. And the real challenge is in recognizing the test when it happens and responding appropriately. If you fail to recognize it, you may find yourself slipping back into old patterns, which could undermine your growth and hurt your chances of building a more solid relationship moving forward. Acknowledging this dynamic allows you to approach the situation with a sense of purpose, knowing that these tests are opportunities, not obstacles. If handled correctly, passing her test is not just about proving yourself worthy, but about showing that you've learned, grown, and are ready to meet her at a new level of maturity. Ultimately, it's not about perfection. It's about emotional readiness and the willingness to move forward together. The no contact period serves as an important time for both individuals to reflect, recharge, and recalibrate emotionally. It's not just about creating distance. It's about using that space productively. In the aftermath of a breakup or a challenging time in a relationship, emotions often run high and reactions can be impulsive or clouded by previous disappointments. The no contact period provides a vital opportunity to gain clarity, both about oneself and the relationship. It is during this time that both partners can reflect on their own behaviors, mistakes, and the role they played in the relationship. It's about understanding what went wrong, but also, and perhaps more importantly, what went right. This is where growth can begin. However, while the no contact period is about individual reflection, it's equally about cultivating a sense of emotional independence. When you spend time apart from someone, you are forced to rely on yourself for emotional stability rather than seeking validation or reassurance from the other person. This is critical because relationships can only flourish when both individuals are whole and secure within themselves. Without emotional independence, the relationship can fall into patterns of codependency, where one person is always seeking to fill the emotional voids of the other. The no contact period, if used wisely, teaches the importance of standing on your own 2 feet and finding your own sense of fulfillment. Moreover, the no contact period offers the chance to rebuild personal boundaries and rediscover your passions and interests. Sometimes, in relationships, people lose touch with what makes them happy outside of the relationship. They may neglect hobbies, friendships, or personal goals, all while focusing too much on the dynamics with their partner. By taking a step back, you can reconnect with your own individuality and start to build the life that you want for yourself, independent of anyone else. This doesn't mean distancing yourself emotionally or mentally, but rather reestablishing a sense of self-worth that isn't contingent on the other person. This time apart is also essential for letting emotional wounds heal. When relationships end or experience a rough patch, there is often a lot of hurt, resentment, or lingering pain. Without time to process these emotions, they can fester and eventually undermine any future attempts at reconciliation. No contact allows both individuals the necessary space to grieve and process the breakup or challenges without interference from the other. It's a process of emotional recovery that is essential for building a stronger and more stable foundation should the relationship resume. When contact finally resumes after no contact, it should not be driven by desperation or the hope of quickly rekindling things to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. Instead, it should be approached with the confidence that comes from having used that time for personal growth. You've learned to be emotionally secure on your own, and any re-engagement with your partner will be based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than a need to fill an emotional void. This newfound strength not only benefits you as an individual, but also sets a healthier tone for how you approach the relationship moving forward. In the end, the no contact period is more than just a strategy to give space. It's a chance to reset, grow, and come back to the relationship with a deeper sense of self-awareness. It's about entering the next phase of the connection from a place of emotional strength and readiness, which is exactly what will help you both pass any test that may come your way. When the no-contact period ends and communication resumes, it's common for the woman to subtly test the waters. These tests can be tricky to recognize, but once you understand their purpose, they become easier to navigate. A woman might reach out unexpectedly, acting as if nothing has changed, or she could try to engage you in a conversation that touches on old issues or unresolved feelings. Sometimes these tests come in the form of mixed signals, where she might seem distant one moment and affectionate the next. The goal is to assess your emotional stability and gauge whether you've truly changed during the time apart. She may want to know if you've learned something from the silence, or if the issues that once created tension are still lingering. One of the most common tests after no contact is when she reaches out to see if you've moved on or if you're still emotionally attached. It might start as a simple message, something casual like, "Hey, how have you been?" or "I was thinking about you." On the surface, it might seem like just a friendly check-in, but it can also be a way of evaluating whether you're still invested in her or the relationship. She's testing your emotional response. Are you still eager to please? Do you immediately begin to chase after her or show signs of neediness? Or are you more grounded, confident when she reaches out or presents a challenge? Your response needs to reflect the growth you've experienced during the time apart. One of the hardest things to do is to resist the urge to react emotionally, especially if she brings up sensitive topics or acts in a way that triggers past feelings. However, keeping your emotions in check shows that you are no longer the person who would overreact or get caught in old patterns. It's about taking a step back and giving yourself the space to think before responding. This is where emotional intelligence comes into play. Understanding that your first impulse might not always be the best course of action. For example, let's say she reaches out with a message that seems light but could carry deeper implications. Or she brings up an old issue that you've both struggled with before. The initial reaction might be to become defensive, nostalgic, or even over-explain yourself, but in reality, this is a moment for you to show that you're emotionally self-sufficient. Rather than rushing to fix the situation or gain her approval, take a moment to breathe, reflect on the situation, and choose a response that is calm and measured. By not reacting impulsively, you give yourself the power to control the situation, rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions. Another important aspect of emotional control is not coming across as desperate or overly eager. It's natural to feel a sense of urgency when someone you care about starts showing interest again, but desperation is a major red flag. If you're too quick to jump in with affection or over-explain yourself, it can come off as if you're seeking validation or trying to earn her love. This behavior can cause her to feel overwhelmed or pressured, which might lead to further tests or withdrawal. Instead, maintaining a sense of emotional independence will communicate that you're not dependent on her for validation. You're emotionally stable enough to stand on your own and are only interested in re-engaging on equal terms. Emotional control also involves staying grounded when things seem uncertain. Relationships are rarely perfect, and even after a period of no contact, there might still be bumps in the road. Your ability to remain calm and composed when challenges arise shows that you've developed a level of maturity and patience. It's easy to get caught up in trying to make everything right immediately, but true growth comes from taking the time to understand each situation without overreacting or rushing to fix things. If you can maintain your emotional balance, it will set the tone for healthier communication and more meaningful interactions in the future. At the end of the day, emotional control is a reflection of your internal strength. It's not about being unemotional or detached, but about understanding how to process and express your feelings in a healthy, constructive way. When you show that you are capable of maintaining emotional control during these moments, it demonstrates that you are no longer the same person who would have reacted out of fear, insecurity, or neediness. Instead, you've become someone who can approach challenges with confidence, patience, and maturity. This, in turn, makes you not only more attractive, but also more emotionally available for a real, lasting connection. One of the most crucial things to remember when reconnecting after no contact is the importance of not chasing. It's natural to feel eager or even anxious about reestablishing the connection, but the moment you start chasing her, you undermine everything you've learned during the time apart. Chasing comes from a place of insecurity or neediness, and while it might feel like a way to get her back or prove your feelings, it rarely has the desired effect. Instead, it often signals desperation, which can push her away rather than draw her closer. When you've spent time apart, it's essential to realize that you've had the opportunity to grow as an individual. That growth should allow you to step into this new phase with a sense of emotional independence and confidence. Instead of chasing after her approval or affection, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. If she sees that you're emotionally self-sufficient and not dependent on her for validation, it will make you more attractive. The key is to let her come to you on her own terms, rather than trying to force the connection. This doesn't mean you should ignore her or be distant out of pride. It simply means that you should let her engage with you at her own pace. If she's genuinely interested in reconnecting or seeing if things can work, she will make the effort. Chasing can often come off as trying to control the situation or move things along faster than they naturally should. It also gives the impression that you're willing to settle for less than what you deserve, which can diminish the respect she has for you. It's also important to remember that the no contact period was meant to allow both of you to heal and gain clarity. When the communication resumes, it should be because both people are ready to engage from a place of balance, not because one person feels desperate to rekindle what's been lost. Chasing suggests that you haven't taken that time to reflect and work on yourself. If you continue to chase after her, you risk falling back into the same emotional patterns that led to the breakup or separation in the first place. What's more, it could lead to a sense of imbalance in the relationship, where one person is putting in all the effort while the other sits back and allows it to happen. Letting her come to you also demonstrates emotional strength and maturity. It shows that you're not clinging to the past or trying to force a connection that isn't there. You've come to terms with the idea that both individuals in a relationship should want to be there, and that includes her just as much as it does you. By not chasing, you're reinforcing the idea that you won't settle for anything less than mutual respect and genuine interest. This is key in creating a healthy and lasting dynamic, whether you're getting back together or simply exploring the potential for a new chapter together. Ultimately, the best way to handle the situation is to let her make the first move. You've already done the necessary internal work during the no contact period, and now it's time to show her that you're emotionally secure and not dependent on her for your happiness. This creates an environment where the relationship can be based on mutual desire, respect, and understanding, something far more sustainable than one person chasing after the other. One of the most important aspects of successfully navigating the reconnection process after no contact is remaining authentic and consistent. It's easy to feel the pressure to present a version of yourself that you think will be more appealing, especially if you're trying to win her back or prove you've changed. However, true growth comes from being honest with yourself and her about who you are, rather than trying to mold yourself into someone you think she wants you to be. Consistency and authenticity aren't just about staying true to your values, but also about showing that you can bring the same emotional strength and maturity consistently over time. Authenticity begins with self-awareness. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you want in life. The no contact period should have given you the time to reflect on your actions, the relationship, and what you've learned from both. This clarity allows you to engage with her from a place of confidence, knowing that you're not pretending to be someone you're not. When you approach the relationship with this kind of honesty, it creates a strong foundation for building trust. You're no longer playing games or acting out of desperation. You're engaging in the relationship with genuine intentions, which is ultimately the most attractive thing you can offer. Consistency plays a huge role as well. After no contact, emotions can run high, and there may be a temptation to go overboard with gestures or words in an attempt to prove that you've changed or that you care. While it's important to show that you're emotionally available and willing to invest in the relationship, it's equally important to show consistency in your behavior over time. Words are powerful, but they can often be fleeting. What really solidifies trust and creates a deeper bond is seeing how your actions align with your words consistently. If you've promised to be more emotionally available or to communicate better, for example, then follow through over time. If you've committed to growing emotionally, show her through your actions that you are capable of that change. Being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. In fact, part of authenticity is accepting and owning your flaws. No one is without their imperfections, and admitting this creates a deeper, more real connection. Rather than pretending that you've got everything figured out, acknowledge your mistakes and how you've learned from them. This kind of vulnerability combined with consistency in your growth shows emotional maturity. It demonstrates that you're not trying to pretend to be someone else, but that you're genuinely working on yourself and want to build something real. It's also important to be consistent with your emotional availability. While it's key to maintain your independence and not chase after her, you also need to show that you're emotionally present when needed. Avoid being distant just to appear cool or detached. Balance is key. Be available and engage with her, but don't do so in a way that makes her feel like she has to fight for your attention or validation. Authenticity in your responses, your interactions, and your emotional investment will communicate that you're ready to move forward in a way that's sustainable for both of you. At the end of the day, being true to yourself and showing up consistently is the most effective way to pass her test. When she sees that your actions align with your words, that you're emotionally balanced, and that you've grown during the time apart, it builds trust and respect. It's not about proving something to her, but about demonstrating that you're the best version of yourself, ready to engage in a real and lasting relationship. By remaining authentic and consistent, you're creating a space for a genuine connection to flourish, one based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared growth.